Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aquarian Mind Podcast. Today's podcast, episode number 245. I'm your host, Jamel Crothers. It's Wednesday Motivation and Inspiration. And today, I want to talk about competing with yourself. Because at the end of the day, your competition is really you. Now, I want you to take a moment and think to yourself, who is your competition? Now, if you said yourself, then you're off to a great start in your journey to success and happiness. Now, I don't want you to think that anyone is in your way, that people doing the same thing in your field are your competition. They aren't at all. There's room for everyone to succeed and do well in life. There are so many people in various fields in the world, and everyone has their day where success will be there. And what I want you to do is compete with yourself and challenge yourself to be great. Every day, look at yourself and know that you are competing with yourself. Whether that's in the gym or your passion in life, whatever it is, you are competing with yourself. Now, for people who, work out on a regular basis, when you're in the gym, you don't focus on what other people are doing because they have their own journey to fulfill. Everyone is, different body types. Everyone's training for different purposes and reasons. Everyone's doing different exercises for different purposes and reasons. You're not going to go follow a person who is trying to lose weight when you're trying to build muscle, right? And vice versa. So fulfill yourself and make yourself feel good. Do that extra set if you have it in you. Do a different exercise that will challenge yourself to see how far you can go or what you can do. I tend to do that sometimes too. I do a lot of the same workouts, but every once in a while, I change it up just to see how my body will react and see what I can do for myself. And when you're working towards your goals, challenge yourself to see how many tasks you can complete in a day, or in a week, or in a month, or in a 3-month time period, or a 6-month time period, or 9 months, or a year, or whatever it is. And set a time limit on certain goals. When you complete them on time, give yourself a pat on the back for, being disciplined and consistent. And be good to yourself and what you're trying to accomplish and all that you do with your life. Don't beat yourself up if you have that bad day, or, don't knock yourself because you didn't complete that task today when you know that good and well you're going to do it tomorrow. And continue to compete with yourself and don't worry about what other people are doing. Continue to hone your craft and consistently improve daily. Because you got to remember, what works for other people may not work for you. So don't try to copy what anyone else is doing in your field and in your passion. And different situations breed different results. And I need you guys to know that and remember that. When you see motivational speakers, right? And I'm going to use them as a really good example because there are so many different ones, right? And there are some great ones. When you listen to motivational speakers, whether it's Gary Vaynerchuk or Eric Thomas or Mel Robbins or Tony Robbins, right? They all have different experiences. And also Inky Johnson. That was the other person I was trying to think about. And there are so many more. Les Brown. When you think about all of them, they have similarities and they have differences. Now, they all compete with themselves. They're not competing with each other, right? Because they all have specific goals and tasks in what they're trying to accomplish. Inky Johnson had an unfortunate, tragic event happen to him in college where he lost the nerve endings in his arm. So now, he has a different arm situation, right? Eric Thomas, he was a high school dropout and ended up going back to school, getting his GED, and then his bachelor's, and then his master's, and then his doctorate, right? So he's in a whole different space, right? Mel Robbins, she has her different experiences, that she's been through in her life. And Gary Vaynerchuk, he's not, his motivational speaker isn't the first thing on his list. He is a CEO of like about 3 major companies, in the world. But part of what he does is motivational speaking, right? But he was an immigrant that moved here and didn't know like English and learned the English language and grew up in not the greatest of circumstances, right? And became who he is, right? So when you start looking at, people in your field, you're not necessarily competing with them because they all have different experiences in life. Now, do you want to be as good as them or better than them? Of course. So if you want to be a motivational speaker, yes, you can study them and who they are and what they're about and, how they go about, motivating others and speaking in front of small crowds and large crowds and things of that nature. Because everything is readily available on social media because they're utilizing their social media platforms to grow their brands and to grow their names, right? So you utilizing what you know, but then also learning from others will allow you to be competitive with yourself to say, I'm going to get better today. I'm going to get better next week. I'm going to do better consistently. And the more I do it, the better I become as a person and also in business matters, right? So that's why I tell people you need to compete with yourself. You need to look in the mirror every day and say, well, you're the person that I'm competing with. It's the reflection in the mirror, not other people. I write books on social issues, but I write it in a different way. I talk about my journey, but in a different way. I know plenty of, great Black authors who are writing about social issues that affect us as, as a race. And they're amazing books. But they're doing it from their experiences, their perspective, their family lineage. And I'm doing it in a different way for me. And I'm not going to go write a 300-page book because I feel that if I can write a 120-page book and not overwrite 180, then I'm good. And I'm not saying other authors overwrite their books. Some have, but, that's fine. By all means, they felt that they needed that content in their books at that specific time. But for me, I want to write books that are good enough for me. And it's the same thing that goes for you guys. If you guys are, working towards something, do it for you. Don't do it for others. And don't try to prove people wrong. Or don't try to, outbeat someone else that's in the same field as you. Because everyone's time and day comes somewhere along the lines. So if you see that you started your journey at the same time as someone else, and they became successful in 3 years, and you didn't become successful until about 7 years later, there's a reason why. And I think I stated this in a previous podcast not too long ago, I think within the past 2 weeks, that the person that, got it within 3 years, that's great. But by the time you make it in year 7, they may be done. They may not have anything left in the gas tank. So they got in where they can get it, and by the year 7, they're out the game in whatever field that they're in. And if you're in the same field as them, you're successful. But see, the difference is they were successful for the moment. You're going to be successful for the longevity of it, right? So if you become successful in year 7, you may last another 25 to 30 years. Meanwhile, that person that became successful in year 3 and was done by year 7, they don't have anything to show for themselves anymore, right? Now they've got to adjust and recalibrate and figure out what's next for them. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I always tell you guys, compete with yourself. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Because for me, when I look at other authors that are writing on social issues, it's great and it's wonderful. But some of them have other business ventures. Some of them are professors at schools. Some of them have families. Some of them have kids. So their lives are totally different than mine. I'm not a professor. I have no intentions on teaching at a college or anything like that. Would I like my books to be on college campuses down the road? Of course. Without a doubt. I'm not saying that that's not a goal of mine, right? I'm single at the moment. I have no kids. I don't have a house. I don't have a mortgage to pay for. So there's a lot of different instances and situations. So when you start comparing yourself to others, you are stealing your own chance of your own shine. You are literally pushing the clouds over the sun to keep that sun from shining bright on you. And I hope that analogy makes sense. So I'm going to tell you right now, compete with yourself. That's it. And with that said, that's my podcast for today. Thank you guys for listening. As always, subscribe, like, share, have these conversations with other people. Pass this podcast on to other people that you may know, whatever fits your narrative and what's going on in your life right now. I hope this podcast will help you guys to understand, how to motivate yourself, push yourself to elevate to greater heights, and that you become the best version of yourself as time progresses. The aquariummindpodcast.com. Don't forget, you guys can listen to my podcast there. It's a nice little media player that you can, look at from a different perspective and enjoy looking through my site. So, with that said, enjoy the rest of your week. Stay tuned for Book Insight Friday. Be good, everyone, and go accomplish your goals.